Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
He needs care and treatment.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Daryl May Remax Partners on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Is this a great country or what?
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour two, last hour of the week here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Daryl May of Remax Partners. Looking to buy or sell a home in Louisiana or Mississippi, Daryl May of Remax Partners is your man. He's a lifelong Baton Rouge resident, now proud to call St. Francisville home. So whether you're looking in the city limits, where Daryl has lived his whole life, or where he now lives in the just outside the city in St. Francisville, Daryl can help you with that. He's also spent more than 2 decades as a builder here in Baton Rouge. He knows the types of construction that you need to be looking for, and has a great feel for the properties around Baton Rouge. He can also help you with a tract of land if you're looking for that hunting property you've always wanted, or maybe a secondary home on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Daryl can help you with that as well. Check out his website, darylmayproperties.com. Daryl May of Remax Partners brings you our Tuesday shows. Start off hour number 2 on Tuesdays with our guy Colin Jeter. Usually graces us with his presence. Not today. Joining us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Colin, appreciate the time. How are you, man?
Hey, doing good, Hunt. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Let's talk about this LSU coaching staff that has been assembled by Lane Kiffin. Essentially what he's done here is he has taken his offensive staff from Oxford to Baton Rouge, and he has essentially kept the LSU defensive staff together outside of just the defensive line coach, and then he added Chris Kiffin, his brother, to the mix to help out Blake Baker. But what do you make of that decision to have the offensive staff come from Ole Miss and to basically retain the LSU defensive staff?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, Coach Frank goes over there.
Yeah.
We get their staff. It's almost like we traded coaches. But I think that's just how it goes. Kiffin's used to running his offensive system. Obviously, he's used to working with those guys. He trusts those guys. He's used to recruiting with those guys. So that felt like a natural fit that was going to happen. But I'm excited. Obviously, that system of coaches has done a good job coaching offense. They've been at the top of the conference for the past few years. I think it's going to be great for the Tigers. So I think they kind of have that cohesiveness, and that's kind of expected on the offensive side.
That'll be for the 2026 team. The 2025 team, still one game to play with Frank Wilson as the interim head coach and the current offensive staff. They'll give this one more swing over in Houston at the Texas Bowl. What was your experience like with the pre-bowl festivities that the guys will go through over in Houston starting on Christmas Eve?
Oh, man, we always had a blast. That was really just a good opportunity. You get to travel as a team. You get there 4 or 5 days early. Curfew kind of gets bumped up each night, as you get closer to the game. But you're out there. You're in a new city with your teammates that you've spent the past 3 or 4 years with, especially by your senior year. It's kind of your last hurrah. But it's a lot of fun. You go see a new city. They do all sorts of events. They do competitions. I think when we played there, we actually went to a rodeo against the Louisville players, and they did also like calf roping and all sorts of goofy stuff. But it was it's just fun events to get out there and see the city and just do some fun things with your teammates. So the bowl season is the best time of year. Nike or whoever your apparel company is always sending new gear for the next season, so you kind of get an early sneak peek at it. You get a little per diem there. It's nothing but fun times around bowl season.
What was Colin Jeter using his per diem on?
I bought a TV that I still have. It was a 60-inch Vizio. I loved it. I was so excited. I don't remember what bowl game it was, but they gave us a gift card at Best Buy. And between the per diem and the Best Buy money, it was just enough to pay for the TV. And I was like, oh, I'm sold. I'm 21. You got to have the big flat screen. That's what I spent my money on, the necessities.
The statute of limitations has run out here, so feel free to rat anybody out. Who is the biggest threat to miss curfew that you can recall on your teams for bowl week?
Oh, man. I guess statute of limitations has passed. It probably would have been the linebackers back in the day. We had a good group of guys between Duke Riley, Kendall Beckwith, those guys. They were always kind of clowning around. I'd imagine if anybody was pushing it, it was those two.
Did you play with Devin White?
I did. So Devin was a freshman my senior year.
Okay. I'm curious if Devin got involved in the rodeo festivities. He rides that horse everywhere. He's riding it through Tiger Stadium. He's like a real horse rider. He could have been really involved in the rodeo stuff.
Yeah, it probably would have been a little unfair if Devin got out there. I don't know if he did. What kind of would have been like, they say professional boxers can't get in street fights, something like that. It'd be like that. Like, Devin, you're too good at what you do. Let's leave it to the amateurs to kind of have something to laugh at.
So this LSU team is going to be without a lot of its starters on the defensive side of the football. Just off the top of my head, Whit Weeks, West Weeks, Jack Pyburn, Mansour Delane, AJ Halsey not going to play in this game. Opportunity for some young guys to step up. But how big a loss do you think that's going to be? The defense has kind of carried this team down the stretch, and now you don't have the number one guys from that side of the ball. So how do you feel LSU is going to match up coming up on Saturday night?
Yeah, obviously I think that's a big piece. All those players you just named are great players, especially I really feel like Halsey, who actually came from Houston, so it's interesting we're playing them. But I just think he's such a good player on the back end, and to lose him, he kind of oversees the defense, kind of protects you. It's that last safety net. I think it's a big hit for us. Obviously, I hope these young guys step up. It's a great opportunity for them to show the new coaching staff what they can do, or with the way the portal works, either you show our staff or you show someone else's staff what you can do. So I think it's a great opportunity for them, but I do think losing those guys, in particular your leaders on your defense and obviously your great players, I think it's going to be a big hit for us. We're going to have to adapt and overcome.
I'm curious your thoughts on the intensity level in this game, because we've talked about your bowl games and how much those meant to you guys. We know how hard everybody played, and there's just a different vibe around these now. What do you expect to see from LSU in terms of their energy level on Saturday?
Hunt, it is so odd these days with the way the bowl games are set up. It seems like a lot of teams just don't really seem to care. I think as a player you care. You always want to go out there and play. But certainly when you don't make the 12-team playoff, it kind of seems like, what are we playing for? And, a lot of players have gotten to the point where they're like, oh, we don't even want to risk injury, so we're not going to play. So it's just kind of an odd layout. I'm hoping to see an intense team. It's your last time playing for the year. If you're a young guy, you're trying to propel yourself into next year. If you're a guy going out, this is kind of it. I'm hoping the Tigers show up. I think when that crowd gets going in Houston, that kind of gets that blood pumping, and that'll help. But yeah, I'm with you. This whole setup I'm trying to do the playoff system and the bowl system together. It's hard to make it mesh, and it's hard to make these games really matter for anything.
Yeah, it's weird, and I've not tried to give any illusion that I'm as locked in as I once was. I gave this example earlier on a spot I did in Lafayette this morning. I remember going to the Sugar Bowl when LSU played Notre Dame, and I was a freshman. It was in January of 2007. And, the intensity level in that stadium for that game between LSU and Notre Dame with Jamarcus Russell and Brady Quinn and Charlie Weiss, and it was a big deal. And the Sugar Bowl is still a big deal because it's a playoff game. But, that wasn't a playoff game. It wasn't for a championship, but it was a big deal. And to see what the bowls have been reduced to from that to this, it's been wild to watch over the last decade and a half.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, all those games, whether it was Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, all these big matchups where you had teams that, maybe they weren't 1 and 2 playing in the BCS, but they were 2 top 10 teams going at it. You're playing for that bowl championship that mattered back in the day, and even just the matchup. You were playing a team from out of conference, the bragging rights of it, kind of going out strong with that season. That's a lot of that's just gone. And I get it now with when you put 12 in it. The people who are left are 13 and under, obviously, and especially when you have Duke winning it, and that kind of messed that whole process up. But it's just you have teams that are going to be 9-3, 8-4. Now they're letting 5 and 7 teams in. It's like, what are we even watching? It's just not. It's not what it used to be with that bowl system. I just don't see the bowl system and the playoff system really coming together. I think they're just going to have to go full into a playoff system, and I understand the sponsors of the bowl games still need to get their money for what they're wanting to do, but I think you got to find a way to maybe say, we'll sponsor first round of a bowl game or first round of playoffs, something like that. I just don't see the two systems coinciding.
Yeah. For LSU offensively, and we'll get you out of here on this one, there hadn't been a lot to love since Garrett Nussmeier went down. What do you think they can try to accomplish in this game against Houston with what they've got on the field?
Oh, man, I think it's one of those things that we're going to continue to just it is what it is on offense this year. I think the system we've run is what we're stuck with. I think we're going to do that same system of trying to get the ball out quick because obviously we've kind of struggled with that line up front. So it's going to be a lot of short passes, screen passes, trying to get in that 11 personnel and run up in between. I'm hoping we mix in a couple, whether it's power play, something except for different than zone. And we just run that so heavy. And I'd like to see something else. Plus, it's bowl season. This is kind of a fun time to throw in some trick plays. We always did a few of those when we were prepping for the game. So I think you'll see a little bit of fun here and there. But I think Van Buren's going to go out there and kind of run the system we've been running. Obviously, he's trying to prove himself to the new coaching staff as well. So I hope to see some fireworks. I think if this is a team we can do that against Houston, I'm just hoping we pay off on it.
We shall see what's going on with the Alumni Association. I know the holiday season's here to start 2026.
Yeah, man. Well, it's the end of the year. Obviously, Christmas is coming here, but we do have the bowl game in Houston. We're actually doing a tailgate. We're partnering up with the Elk Club and TAF. We're going to do a tailgate before the game. It's 5 to 8. We've got tickets online on our website at lsualumni.org. It should be a great time. If you're in Houston for the bowl game, you're already kind of enjoying the Christmas season, come by early. Come to the tailgate. It's a great opportunity to get in there and fellowship, eat food, drink good drinks. It's a good time. So I'd highly recommend swinging by the tailgate before the game. It's actually in the stadium, so good opportunity to get in there early and get the festivities going for the bowl game.
Awesome. I know we got a lot of listenership that's over in Houston. It's a convenient drive for those that aren't there. And so if you're going over to the Texas Bowl to watch the Tigers one more time in 2025, do so with the Alumni Association. Go tailgate beforehand. Colin Jeter will certainly be there. He's always with us on Tuesdays. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hunt.
Colin Jeter, former LSU tight end, now with the LSU Alumni Association. Speaking of the playoff, which we just talked about briefly there, let's talk about it with Denton Day. We'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. I want to be sure to wish everybody a Merry Christmas out there and a Happy New Year starting up in 2026. Look, First American Bank and Trust has been around since 1910. This will be 116 years rocking and rolling in Southeast Louisiana. They've grown to 25 locations. It's the local bank. It's the local bank. The people that work there are local. The decisions are made locally. You're not calling some call center in San Francisco or Denver or Atlanta. You're getting people here in Southeast Louisiana when you bank with First American Bank and Trust. You understand who you're working for, who you're working with. And you know that you're going to be able to get them on the phone. And you know that they do have the resources that you're looking for. It's just not a mom and pop shop here. We're talking about 25 locations in Southeast Louisiana. So whether you're in Hammond, Tangipahoa, St. Tammany, down in St. James, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne, or where you are in Southeast Louisiana, there's a First American Bank and Trust that is near you. If you're looking for a commercial loan, if you're looking for a residential loan, do your business with First American Bank and Trust. It's First American Bank and Trust.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Daryl May Remax Partners. Looking for land to hunt or build? Call Daryl May Remax Partners.
I just pulled out my phone and checked the temperature. It's 80 currently. Real feel 86.
That stuff's disgusting to me, man. Like, is it not Christmas time?
That is just
like, what are we doing?
Not a lot of Christmas vibes there, unless you're in Australia. I'm guessing a place where it was not 80 degrees yesterday. Real feel 86 is a big city up in NYC. That's where our guy Denton Day was yesterday, so couldn't check in on his normal Monday, but good enough to make some time for us on this Tuesday. How are you, sir?
I'm a lot better than 80 degrees in December. Lord have mercy. I was complaining about some of the wind that was whipping up there in New York, but I'll take the whipping wind over 80 in December.
I'm good with it. I'm playing golf on Friday. I'm fine. I don't want it to ever be cold. I don't want cold ever. 80's fine with me. Doesn't really feel like Christmas. I packed for Shreveport, which is in North Louisiana, earlier today, and I've just packed a bunch of shorts and short-sleeve shirts because it's just not going to be cold. So it is what it is. Let's talk some football, Denton. Your biggest takeaway from the opening round of the college football playoff was?
That Ty Simpson is good again.
Ah.
That was new. You know, he hadn't been good in a month, and all of a sudden, I guess he had read enough of the social media posts. He had been maybe DM'd enough by people with, be a little weird when an SEC quarterback starts losing, and he just flipped back into the mode that he was at the beginning / middle of the season when he was a Heisman contender and a soon-to-be number one overall pick before Fernando Mendoza took that. So that was probably the biggest. It's hard to take anything away from the final two games other than the Group of 5 doesn't really deserve to be in there, but we knew that beforehand.
Yep.
So outside of that, there wasn't anything massive, I didn't think.
All right, let's go to Alabama then, if that's where you were. Like, what do we feel about Kalen DeBoer's situation in Tuscaloosa any differently today than you did previous to the Oklahoma game?
Not really. It's fun to think that he might leave for Michigan, but I don't ever really believed that he was going to leave for Michigan. And when you win a playoff game, I mean, unless Michigan somehow gets into like January and hasn't filled the coaching spot, which maybe is a little bit more believable than it was a couple of days ago, but I just never thought he was going to leave for Michigan. So I think he's still going to be there next year, and getting the win back against Oklahoma in the fashion that they did, I thought was a really big deal for him. And you can kind of tell he was smiling, he was cheesing ear to ear when he was going to the middle of that field on Friday night to shake hands with Brent Venables, knowing, hey, I didn't blow a 17-point lead at home in the college football playoff, and now some of y'all are going to stop putting my name in these Michigan rumors.
How do we feel about his performance through almost 2 years? I don't think either one of us thinks they're going to win the national championship. So he's going to lose a fourth game this year. One's a playoff game and one's a conference championship game after a 10-2 season. But that's going to be 8 losses in 2 years. However, this is a playoff run. Like, how do you contextualize that?
I think if they beat Indiana, you kind of let the 4-loss thing go a little bit,
okay,
right? Especially when you all right, well, they got deep into the playoff and they took down the number 1 team. And, depending how they beat them, if they beat them the way they did to Oklahoma, you beat the number 1 team in pretty convincing fashion. I think it would be easy to get back on the roller coaster a little bit and say, we're going to take this ride. Now, if they get dog walked by Indiana, I think some of the things that we would have said had they lost to Oklahoma, all you did was preserve that conversation for 11 days, 10 days, whatever it ends up being. So I think they need a strong performance. If you end the season, obviously in the SEC in particular, if you end the season on a loss, it is a failure. But if you play competitively to a team that most people think, at least the books think, is going to beat you relatively handedly, I do think there's maybe a little bit of optimism going into year number 3. But look, you knew this wasn't going to be, you're not being coached by Nick Saban anymore, right? You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. This is not what the reality is. This is your new reality. And there's not a lot of coaches and not a lot of programs that are going to consistently have the kind of success that Alabama had for a sustained period of time with Saban.
All right, the body is officially cold in College Station. What's the autopsy on this A&M team?
They're exactly who you had been trying to tell me this is who they were for a very long time. And for a bit, I was like, nope, you know what? I think they might actually be good. No, this is what they were. Miami has a good defense, not a great defense, and they couldn't score against them. How? Marcel Reed, that touchdown, or that should have been touchdown throw, if you're a good to great quarterback, that's a relatively routine throw, right? The pocket is there in terms of where you want to deliver the football. If you put it in the right spot, that's a touchdown. And then you're tasked with a very tough decision of, do we go for 2, do we keep the field goal, whatever. You can't miss that throw in that scenario at home in the college football playoff. And he did. And that feels like how I would encapsulate the Texas A&M season. They were literally just 2024 Indiana with a bigger brand in college football. That's all I look at them now. They really just had a weak schedule. They profited off of that, and they had a quarterback that was fun, but really never eclipsed the heights that I think a lot of people saw him to be eclipsing.
How do you think we'll talk about Marcel Reed in August?
Oh God, probably the same way that they talked about Arch Manning. I mean, if he comes back, everyone's going to look at him like, well, he took the next step. Like everyone is always, that's the benefit of a summer. I think when you are without football for such a long time, you think that everybody's always going to get better, and maybe he does. Yeah, I think there are some things that he does. They're good things, but he just has to get better at some of the nuances of playing the quarterback position, and it feels like that's a lot easier said than done. If everyone could do it, we'd have a lot of really good quarterbacks in college football. And, we're kind of in the wastelands right now, it feels like a lot of the times, at least from a statistical standpoint, where I keep seeing this like Fernando Mendoza, Joe Burrow graphic. And, that Burrow season was one of the all-time great seasons ever, right? But there was a time where guys were consistently putting up some really impressive numbers that maybe weren't, rivaling Joe Burrow's, but we're in the same echelon, and it feels like we haven't had that in the last 3 years, really since Jaden was at LSU. So I guess it's 2 years So maybe Marcel Reed comes back and puts up some bonkers numbers, but look, he's not getting my money in August for that. So that's how I feel about him.
This is a selfish detour here, but we are on in Baton Rouge. Like, how did A&M score 50 on LSU's pretty good defense? I don't have a good explanation for that.
I think they were just rolling over. Like, I think that felt more mental on LSU than it did, wow, look at how good A&M is, at least when I was watching that. So I think that was more so of that than Marcel Reed and the Texas A&M offense being awesome.
Talk about Miami. What does this mean for them?
They get another game.
Yeah.
I still don't look at them as like a really great team. I enjoyed the game on Saturday. I kind of like those games where it feels like every single play means something. But Carson Beck is still Carson Beck, and he's not very good. I think defensively they're fun. Ruben Bain's a really good player. They got some fast dudes on that defense. But now you're playing like the real big boys. You're playing teams that can win championships, and Texas A&M was never that, right? So I think you're gonna find yourself feeling a lot different if you're a Miami fan these upcoming slate of games. I almost said weekend, but this upcoming slate of games when you match up against a team that's legitimately good versus a team that was cosplaying as being good, the way Texas A&M was.
Are you buying Mike Elko's stock in College Station? What do you think his tenure there is going to be? You feel like they've got the right guy? You feel like this was just a product of the schedule? Like, what's your big picture on A&M?
I still really like Mike Elko.
Yeah.
I think if he gets a legitimately great quarterback, again, easier said than done, but a legitimately great quarterback, he can do some really special things. So I'm a big fan of Mike Elko. I think the program is certainly going in the right direction under his leadership. He does strike me as a little bit more of like a Big Ten style of coach. Kalen DeBoer's the same way, where they just strike me more. They strike me as more that kind of style, like love physical play. Maybe that's just because he's a bigger dude. I don't know. But I think he's the right guy for the future for A&M. So I think that extension he got was well deserved. We'll
talk about the playoff games when we chat next. Appreciate a little bit of time here on this Tuesday.
Yep, Hunt, appreciate it as always.
Denton Day, Sirius XM College Football Overtime, making a little time for us on a Tuesday. I'll say this. I've talked about A&M a lot. Y'all know how I feel about Texas A&M. It has nothing to do with the yell leaders and the things that they do. My dislike is rooted in their proximity and involvement with LSU. Like, LSU plays A&M every year, and LSU recruits against A&M a lot. LSU recruits Houston very hard. LSU recruits Texas very hard. LSU recruits Louisiana very hard, and Texas A&M recruits all three of those places really hard. So my dislike for them has nothing to do with the 7 overtime game or with it's just the fact that they're right here with LSU, and I feel differently about them than I do Mississippi State or Arkansas. I think that the ceiling is way higher in Texas A&M. So fear is the wrong word, but like their relevance to me creates the hatred. And so that's where I come from that perspective. And I don't want them to ever figure it out and get the guy. And I don't know how I would define quote unquote the guy, but Mike Elko gives some good vibes. I think if I'm just looking at it from an objective perspective, not putting my purple and gold on and staring at it from that perspective, like I look at Mike Elko, I see a guy who's obviously very bright. He's very bright. He also, I think, gives good answers in press conferences, which doesn't matter, but I think shows an understanding of the situation. He is very serious when he needs to be. He makes a quick when he needs to be. I think he gives inspiring answers at times, and I think he's a really good defensive coach who's going to rely on whoever his offensive coordinator is to handle that side of the ball. In the same way Kiffin needs his defensive guy, Elko's going to need his offensive guy. But I feel like I don't want to buy 11-1 stock, which is what I would have to buy because that's where they are. But I think Mike Elko's got a chance to keep A&M relevant moving forward. Like, if you ask me, I think a good comparison to A&M and Elko is Tennessee with Heupel. Both have made a playoff, both lost in the playoff, both have kind of elevated the program from their predecessors. A&M never figured it out with Sumlin, never figured it out with Jimbo. Elko is doing, I think, a little bit better. Tennessee was in the wilderness post-Fulmer for almost 2 decades, and I think Heupel is elevated, even though hasn't gotten over the hump. And neither's. But I would bet Elko at A&M before I bet Heupel at Tennessee, as far as guys that I think could get the job done. Now, Heupel's been at Tennessee longer, so that sample size is a little bit different. Elko's just in his second year at College Station. I think you're looking at maybe 5 years for Heupel there on Rocky Top. So I think it's a reasonable comparison. I would buy Elko stock in College Station. I think he's going to do some good things there. I just hope that he doesn't reach Atlanta and doesn't make a national final. That's what I was trying to keep A&M away from that. And there was a certain point there when they're 11-0 where you got to look at this and go, it could happen. Like they were the number 3 seed at that point behind Ohio State and Indiana, and one of those teams was going to take a loss in the conference championship. So it looked bad, and then they fell apart a little bit, which I enjoyed. But I think Elko is going to do a good job there in College Station, unfortunately. Thought it was interesting when some folks were bringing his name up for Michigan, but signed that big extension. I think he's going to be there for a while. So we'll see. All right, we got 30 minutes to go. We'll come back, talk some LSU football and basketball in the next segment, and then we'll close things out on a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Fabry Chevrolet GMC, they're in St. Francisville, Highway 61. They got an amazing service department there. It doesn't matter what make, model your car is. They can service them all at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. So it doesn't have to be a Chevy or a GMC. If you're in the area, want to stop by, know you're going to get quality customer service and honest job, Fabry Chevrolet GMC is happy to help you out with that. Or if you're in the market for a new vehicle, obviously, Fabry Chevrolet GMC is happy to help you there. They got a huge inventory there in St. Francisville. You can see it all online at FabryChevrolet.com. They got your Chevys, they got your GMCs, so Tahoes, Silverados, Suburbans, Sierras, Yukons, Denali's. A lot of folks love to get behind the wheel of something new to start the year. If that's you, check them out in St. Francisville. Fabry Chevrolet GMC on Highway 61. Or check them out online, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Daryl May Remax Partners. Looking for land to hunt or build? Call Daryl May Remax Partners.
Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters.
Daryl May, Remax Partners, licensed realtor, Louisiana and Mississippi, buying or selling a home. Daryl May, happy to help you out with that. Also, if you're looking for land, always wanted that second home, always wanted that hunting property, maybe up in Mississippi, maybe in the Felicianas. Daryl can help you with that as well. Remax Partners, you can find them online at DarylMayProperties.com, DarylMayProperties.com. All right, some news here that's come in the last 15, 20 minutes. Another starter for LSU that is going to enter the transfer portal on the offensive side of the football. Cohen Eccles has announced that he will enter the portal. He and Carius Kern, a couple of guys who are young that have had starting experience on this Tiger offensive line, that have announced they're going to enter the transfer portal. I'm curious to see if Eccles plays in this game coming up on Saturday. This is a weird time for an announcement. Usually you would have thought a little bit earlier. But he's a Katy native, and so you're going to be playing right down the road from where you grew up. I think maybe a chance to go play in NRG would be something he would want to do, and he might do it. Like, there are guys that are going to play in this game that are in the transfer portal. Juwan Johnson is going to play in the game, and he's in the transfer portal. But I'm not sure what Eccles' plan is. Carius Kern is going to play in the bowl game as well, and Kern is not ruled out a return to LSU, and I don't know that if Cohen Eccles has or not. But this is just part of it, and the biggest overhaul on this roster is going to have to come on the offensive line. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're moving on. Josh Thompson's out of eligibility, and Braylon Moore's got a decision to make. We'll see what he decides to do. But these young players that Brad Davis brought in, and Eccles included, were decorated recruits who have been a part of an offensive line that has just grossly underperformed, candidly. I don't have a perfect explanation for it. I don't know how much to pin on missed evaluations. I don't know how much to pin on poor development. I don't know how much to pin on the play calling and the scheme and the system. I don't know how much to pin what part of the pie is why LSU is where they are from a running the football perspective. But it's got to change. So if that needs to be just a lot of new personnel so be it. You're going to be very aggressive in the transfer portal, and I would submit that it's possible all 5 offensive line spots could be overturned here because you've got to be significantly better than you were. Cohen Eccles is a physical player. He's a guy that they plugged in there at the left guard spot who gave him some good reps in the running game, was not afraid to stick his nose in there and be physical. But there is no one on that offensive line that I look at and go, they've got to get that guy back. He is vital to the success of next year's team because they just did not play very well. And I don't mean to pin that on just on Cohen Eccles. What I'm saying is there's just a confluence of factors that have not worked. And so with Carius Curran going into the portal, you're like, yeah, I think that guy's got some potential. Cohen Eccles going into the portal, yeah, that guy's got some potential. But you're going to have to go shopping in the transfer portal, and you're going to have to find some dudes to play on the offensive line that can give you more than what you got this year. So there's going to be more turnover on the offensive side. It's just coming. We talked to Glenn West in the first hour. He talked to Blake Baker. I think you're going to have a lot of continuity on defense. Like, I would suggest it's likely you get DJ Pickett back, you get PJ Woodland back, you get Deshaun Spears back. I think it's reasonable to suggest Gabe Relaford will be back and perhaps Dominic McKinley as well. And I think at linebacker, I would think a lot of those young guys would stick around because they've got their position coaches and their coordinator, and these are the guys that they signed on to play for last year. Offensively, it's a whole new world over there. So you're just going to have some guys move on. I would be surprised. I would be a little bit surprised if both Caden Durham and Harlem Berry were back next year. That's based on no inside information whatsoever. That is just a hunch on reading tea leaves. Like, your entire offense is overhauled and your position coach just left. And it's likely, in my estimation, that your new position coach is bringing Kejuan Lacey in from Oxford. So, like, there's going to be movement there. They're probably going to have movement at wide receiver. They got a lot of wide receivers on this team, and you're seeing movement on the offensive line. It's just the offense is going to see a ton of overhaul, and it always kind of stings when guys are on the way out. But you realize that come the first week of January, there's just going to be a flood in as well. LSU's coaching staff, starting with Lane Kiffin, doesn't have to worry about the Texas Bowl. They are making plans for the current roster and the guys that they're going to go after. And you can talk to agents and handlers and representatives. You have a feeling as to what players may or may not enter the transfer portal, and you can start to have some of those conversations. I'm not naive to that. So I think it's going to be fast and furious. There are still going to be guys after this bowl game that decide they're not going to play, and you'll have to look at your numbers, look at your position groups, and assemble the roster. That's what Billy Glasscock is here for. That's what Lane Kiffin has brought him here to do. You've got to make sure that you make all the pieces work. It's chaos in the first week of January in the college football world. There's no other word for it. It's chaos. But LSU should be positioned pretty well for the chaos, because while a lot of teams are focusing on the college football playoff, a lot of teams are focusing on preparing for a bowl game. Like, the coaches that are preparing LSU for this bowl game on the offensive side are not going to be at LSU moving forward. And so you're looking at guys on the defensive side that are prepping for Houston in a way, but you're focusing on the portal, and LSU on the offensive line has to go and get 5 guys, 6 guys on the offensive line. Like, I don't see another way. I just don't think you can run this back. And it looks like you're not, because you're not going to have Josh Thompson, and you're probably not going to have Carius Curran, and you're probably not going to have Cohen Eccles, and we'll see what the rest of these guys do. It looked on paper like Brad Davis was really assembling a strong group, and you had a ton of 4 and 5 star guys, and you brought in Power 5 transfers. And because of all those factors I mentioned, development, scouting, personnel, play calling, the whole deal, system, it did not work on the ground for LSU. So you have to find a way to make that work with the new offensive line. And so you've got Coach Wolford, who comes in, who's got experience at Kentucky, 2 different stops, who was at Alabama for a year as well. You got to go, and you got to go get dudes. And that's the plan. It seems like Cohen Eccles will be moving on. I think the thought was he was going to play in this game. It would not surprise me to see him play in this game. He's a Katy native, as I said, so we'll see if Cohen Eccles plays, but he's going to put his name in the transfer portal come in the first week of January. So if you're looking at the guys with starting experience to have done that, you've got Eccles, you've got Kern, beyond that, I can't think of any. Oh, Ahmad Bro as well, or young guys with some starting experience that look like they're gonna move on. And that's just the nature of the beast in college football these days. All right, we'll step aside. We'll come back, and we will close things out for the week. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Daryl May of RE/MAX Partners, licensed realtor, Louisiana and Mississippi. DarylMayProperties.com is where you can find him. Daryl's got a unique skill set because he spent 20 years as a builder, so he understands what you're looking for in terms of the construction space. He knows what you're looking for. He also grew up in Baton Rouge. He knows this area. He also now lives in St. Francisville, so he knows the surrounding areas as well. If you're looking for that type of skill set with someone who's got that kind of knowledge, Daryl is your guy. He can also help you if you're looking for land, whether that's for hunting, whether that's for a secondary home, whether that's for a move out of the hustle and bustle of the big city life. Maybe you're looking for a spot on the coast over there in Mississippi, maybe in Pass Christian or Bay St. Louis. Daryl can help you with all of that. He's licensed anywhere in Louisiana and Mississippi. So give him a call or check him out online at DarylMayProperties.com. Daryl May with RE/MAX Partners, licensed realtor in Louisiana and Mississippi. Online at DarylMayProperties.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Daryl May RE/MAX Partners. Looking for land to hunt or build? Call Daryl May RE/MAX Partners.
All right, winding things down here pre-Christmas. We will take Christmas Eve holiday tomorrow, Christmas Day on Thursday. We'll also take Friday off as a station as well. So some good family time coming up for a lot of us here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And we'll be back in this capacity on Monday. Tigers play 8:15 on Saturday in the Texas Bowl. So I will be on the air at 6:15 for the pregame show on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Charlie will have Eagle 98.1 Game Day's pregame show for the Texas Bowl. No postgame show. Say, well, why aren't you doing a postgame show? Well, here's why we're not doing a postgame show. Because the game kicks off at 8:15. You consider the bowl game commercial load. You're looking at a finish at about midnight, maybe 12:20. That puts me on the air at 12:50 and off the air at 1:50 a.m., which would put Charlie on the air at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And Charlie said, I don't really want to do Texas Bowl postgame at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm not.
Thank you, Haney.
So there's no postgame show for the Texas Bowl. You know Haney's stat about times of day he's done pre- and postgame?
I don't have no. I just know.
He says he's done it at every hour on the clock.
Really?
So I don't know if the 3, 4 o'clock in the morning was the Arizona LSU game that kicked off at 9 p.m. in 2003.
Oh, my goodness.
It was on TBS. I remember that. It was in 2003. I don't know if that was the 7 overtime Texas A&M game. That put us off really late, and maybe that was the one that got him to 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. But he did do a 5 a.m. for the Cotton Bowl, which was a 10 a.m. New Year's Day. So he did pregame at 5 a.m. for that. So you're talking about every hour on the clock, Haney has done either pre or post game for LSU football, but not gonna make the Kinder's Texas Bowl in 2025 one of the late night ones.
And that's just why Haney's the GOAT. Thank you, Haney. I definitely going to appreciate you this weekend. Thank you, my brother.
I'll give you a thought on the Texas Bowl because this will be our last show here before the Texas Bowl. I don't think LSU's going to win the game. I don't think LSU's going to win the game because LSU's offense is not good. They can't score points on Western Kentucky. They can't score points on Oklahoma. And I don't think they're going to score a lot of points on Houston. I think they'll probably score somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 points. That's about where I am. I think that LSU's defense at full strength is capable of holding Houston to 10 or 14 points maybe. I don't think Houston's a great team offensively. Their quarterback, Connor Wigman, is not a great player. They like to run the ball. They don't run it exceptionally well. I think LSU would do a good job to stand up to that. But I think when you take out of the equation Jack Pyburn and Whit Weeks and West Weeks and A.J. Halsey and Mansour Delane, and you take that away, you're just going to take a step back. We saw when LSU was playing without a lot of its guys in the interior that Vanderbilt really got after LSU and ran the ball on them. I think that Houston's going to score a little bit more than LSU can. So I would, if I had to pick a final score, which I will for station survey moving forward, I'd probably have it somewhere in the neighborhood of 24-13 Houston. Like that's kind of where I see it. Houston's got more more juice for this game than LSU does. They've got more guys that are going to play. They're a 9-3 football team in the Big 12. They didn't play Texas Tech all that competitively, but they're a pretty average team. I think LSU is a below average team with this offensive product and with the defense that they're going to put out there. If you gave me all of LSU's defensive starters, I would have to think long and hard about this one. I think LSU would have a chance to win it. You take those guys off the field, I probably got to bump it down to an L at that point.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think I sent you my survey, and I think I said 24-20 Houston. I can see the defense getting like a pick six or something. You know, Wigman, he's going to give you one. All right, he's got to catch it. Wigman's going to give you one.
He was so bad in the first half for A&M against LSU last year, and then they put Reed in.
Yeah, trust me, and the rest was history. So I remember him because when Aaron Anderson scored that touchdown, I thought that sucked the life out of the building. So I think Houston's going to have some juice. I think they're going to come with it. I think LSU's going to keep it cute, but I don't see the Tigers pulling off with this one.
I haven't picked the Saints game, so I can throw a pick on that. Yeah. I think the Saints win. I think they beat the Titans. I think it's something like 20-16, something like that. Yeah. I think it's a defensive game. I haven't looked at the weather forecast. It can be chilly up in Nashville this time of year, but with the heat we've got, I'm sure it's not going to be too cold. So I think, but I trust this team to go on the road and make enough plays defensively against the rookie quarterback to get it done. They're opportunistic in the back end. I think the young defensive backs have played better. They've got really good play up front. Demario Davis just continues to play at an excellent level, and I don't think Tennessee's going to score a lot. And I think the Saints won't score a ton. They'll score enough. Yeah,
it's like night and day with Shuck out there compared to Rattler. Hate to say it, but it just feels like when Shuck's out there, you feel the chance of actually winning this game. Like you feel that, okay, Shuck's the quarterback. We actually might have a chance today. Now, Rattler was like, we're going to need a lot of things to go perfect.
Defense going to have to show up. That's been pretty much the only way. And defense has been great. Brandon Staley, shout out. Hopefully his stint in L.A. was bad enough as a head coach that no one wants to hire him for round 2 for a little bit, and he can get some continuity going on the defensive side of the ball because it seems like they're playing really good for him right now. All right, so take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer. 'Tis the season, and look, it's really warm outside. We always talk about light beer during the summer. It feels like 86. Perfect time for a light beer around the holidays. Grab one, 95 calories, 2.6 carbs. That is Flight by Yingling. Delicious. It's the next generation of light beer.
Okay, let's start it off. Well, the NFL has revealed its Pro Bowl list for the 2025-2026 season, and only 3 teams have 0 Pro Bowlers. Do you want to take a guess, or?
I don't think the Jets have a Pro Bowler.
Jets do not have a Pro Bowler.
They
do. They have 3 on, but they don't play for the Jets anymore. So yeah, they do.
I think the Cardinals don't have a Pro Bowler.
They have a Pro Bowler.
I think the Raiders don't have a Pro Bowler.
The Raiders have a Pro Bowler.
I don't know. Who's the other?
It's the Vikings and the Saints.
Oh.
The Saints, for the second season straight, have no Pro Bowlers. So, I mean, are the Saints this down bad? Take it or leave it.
No, leave it. The Saints are hot. Hottest team in the NFL.
Come on,
Who
man.
should be a Pro Bowler from the Saints?
I mean,
DeMario?
Well, I will say this. DeMario and pretty much DeMario Olave, but the NFC has great receivers. So he might be what do you call it? The step-in.
Fill-in. Yeah, I mean, you're going to struggle to get Olave through that group of receivers.
Yeah, that's a lot of receivers.
Smith and Jigba is awesome. Jets. Well, the Jets' year has not been super awesome because they don't have a quarterback. But, it's...
No, he didn't make the Pro Bowl team. Vikings, no Pro Bowlers.
I mean, they
Yeah,
I would have missed that. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Who's
the Raiders Pro Bowler?
I got you. I have the whole list right here, but as I'm reading that, Ravens wide receiver Zay Flowers made the Pro Bowlers for the AFC receivers with 2 touchdowns on the season.
I know, he's on my fantasy team. He stinks.
2 touchdowns and 3 fumbles. Yeah. So what is going on? I guess take it or leave it.
I mean, I'm gonna leave that. I had Zay Flowers on the fantasy team. It was the second worst fantasy team in the league this year. He was terrible. Always got 3-4 points. Awful performance. Should not be a Pro Bowler
at all. 2 touchdowns.
Nobody on my fantasy team this year should have made the Pro Bowl. Not one.
And the 1 Pro Bowler for the Raiders was Max Crosby.
That's right.
Yeah, so Max Crosby was the 1 Pro Bowler. And finally, last but not least, before we get up out of here, former LSU Tiger Ben Simmons is in the news today.
Oh.
As he told Mark Spears from ESPN that he's putting the NBA on hold to pursue a career in pro fishing. Ben Simmons, the pro fisherman. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. What? Leave it alone. He's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The documentary obviously rubbed me the wrong way. I did not like the way that documentary was framed. It irked me. It irked a lot of people because if you go to an LSU basketball game now, they do the same thing at baseball and football where they show all the guys in the professional league right now and everybody gets a huge cheer and everyone just boos Simmons when they put him up there. It's just pitiful. But that is so odd.
Yeah, he's saying forget that. Well, I will say.
You know what you can always do?
Yeah.
Be a pro fisherman.
Yeah.
Like, you can't play in the NBA forever. And I'll be candid. I don't even know what his status in the league is right now.
He's been out the league for at least a year and a half now.
Okay. So no one would even give him a shot? Like, he's not even old.
No, he's not. But his back has just been.
Okay.
He doesn't offer much no more to an NBA roster.
All right. Well, then go fishing. That's great. But he's a bit of an odd character there. So
Australian in him. Australian.
He was actually better at LSU than most people remember. Like he played really well at LSU.
When I was growing up, so it's around, we was here like 2017, 2016. Yeah. Yes, I was in high school. And we used to call Ben Simmons light-skinned Jesus. That's how good he was at LSU for that time.
I mean, people remember the documentary, and they remember the team that didn't go play in the NIT, and they lost by $1 billion in the SC tournament. They scored like 30 points. And so it ended so poorly that everybody's like, oh, that guy was terrible. He was actually very good,
really good
at LSU.
He was.
I'll never see a player like that again. He was left-handed, but he shot all of his layups right-handed. Yeah. It was an odd skill set that he had, but he was a good player. All right, that's it for us here for this week on the Hunt Palmer Show. Shout out to Daryl May of RE/MAX Partners bringing you our Tuesday shows. We're out of here for the next 3 days. I'm back for pregame on Saturday, and then we'll be back here on Monday. Have a great Christmas, everybody. See y'all in a few days.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got to remind you about Marucci, though, before we get out of here. Still got time to get on by Marucci and get the young baseball player, the young softball player in your life. Some of the best bats on the market. And this is an incredible story here in Baton Rouge. You're looking at a company that was started in 2004 in a shed, and over the course of 2 decades has become the official bat of Major League Baseball. My guy, Anthony Rizzo, big Marucci guy. Riz stepped away from the game, but big Marucci guy. Loved it. I love Rizzo. You should love Marucci bats. If you're looking for a bat, get on by and see. You can also go do a campus tour over there at Marucci.